Good afternoon and welcome to our Committee of the Whole meeting for June 17th, 2024. On June 17th, 2024, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been the site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation, and we're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We're mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. Is there any amendments to the agenda before we take a motion to approve? Seeing none, I'll look for a mover. Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Quinn, that the June 17, 2024 Special Committee of the Whole meeting agenda be approved to circulated. All those in favor? That carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary or conflict of interest tonight? Seeing none, we've got no approval of minutes or delegations, so we'll go to CAO Director's reports with Chief Cheeseborough.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two quick updates. As a result of the impending rise in the temperature today and for the remainder of the week, we've been able to establish 3 cooling centers. That press release will be going out, if it hasn't gone out already, first thing tomorrow morning. So we'll be using the Youth Arena, the Lions Club, and the Legion. So they've all agreed to open up and provide those cooling centers if this heat wave continues. The second item, I wanted to just give you a brief update on the events surrounding our weather impact of Tuesday the 13th. During that weather event, we received 187 phone calls. We dispatched 15 calls. Now, whether the 15 calls doesn't sound like it was a busy day or busy evening for the 15 departments we dispatched for, but what it generated was 1,093 radio transmissions. So it was relentless throughout the course of the evening during that weather event. The following morning, or that afternoon, I should say, we responded to a major gas leak on Eric Hutchison Drive that kept crews busy there for a number, probably 2-3 hours, waiting for the gas company to come out and actually isolate the situation. The following day, on the 14th, again, a follow-up to the storm from the night before, 15 calls, but there was 227 phone calls into dispatch just during the day and 1,059 transmissions, just for hydro lines down, trees down, roads blocked. And on top of that, we also dispatched for a structure fire in Lanark Highlands. So even though the call volume looks like it's small, the actual activity in the dispatch center far outweighs, it's tremendous over the volume of calls. As a note, during the weather event, Algonquin Highlands radio tower went down, so it was non-functional. So we had to revert to mapping and to a Who's Responding app just to be able to get the calls out for that general area, and they had the lion's share of the calls. For here in Smith Falls, as of today, we responded to 29 calls in the first 17 days of the month. So it's been extremely, extremely busy for our staff. We had the 2 structure fires we responded to, one on Saturday, then the one on the Sunday morning. Sunday morning resulted in bringing in the Office of the Fire Marshal for the investigation. It is deemed suspicious. So that file has been turned over to the municipal police and to the OFM for follow-up. One of the items that we did ensure prior to leaving the property with the OFM and their investigators is that the property is secured. So it has been fenced off. The building has been boarded up to protect for unauthorized entry. The property owner and the insurance company have both been put on notice that following their investigation and the conclusion of that file, there will be a timeline to have that property totally cleaned up, whether it's restoration of the house or the removal of the house, but all the contents around the property will be removed. So an order will be coming out within the next week or two, just to keep you advised on that. That is my updates for this evening.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions, comments? All right, thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to Director or CAO Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My report's a bit more lighthearted than the Chiefs. I just want to advise that on the weekend, the Rideau Paddle Fest occurred here in Smiths Falls, and it was a beautiful late spring day to be out on the water. There were 8 teams registered for the race, the Voyageur Canoe Race. And we raced 3 times. Our social committee put a team in, and we were captained by Councillor McGuire at the front of the ship. And we won. We became the champions again. So my hat's off to our social committee and all the people that came out and those that cheered us on the shore. It was just a fantastic day. The event's getting bigger every year, and the organizers did a fantastic job. So the whole purpose of that event, of course, is to expose people, both locals and tourists, to the Rideau Canal and get out on the water. And every town looks different when you're on the water versus the shore. So we certainly are trying to encourage people to get out. We have a beautiful waterfront, and it was pretty sweet on Saturday when we won. We won by 0.2 of a second, and the race is over a minute long. So it was a very, very close finish. And we were up against a really strong team from Wills Transfer. And so we're going to give them the paddle one day of the year because they were so close. But the paddle will be displayed in Town Hall. It's en route right now, and so we'll proudly display it for all to see. But thanks for those that came out and supported the group, and it was a fun day.
Questions, comments? Councillor Brennan?
Just a comment. And I'm sorry I missed it, but traditionally, former Councillor Ken Graham was the timer. Was Ken there this year?
He was not.
Okay, so it's legit then.
Our first real win.
Any other questions, comments? So with that, we'll move on to 10.1 Station Theatre Facility Lease Renewal Report with Director Clark.
Good evening, everyone. At the risk of sounding like we're in deja vu, I'm representing the report. After, I can't remember, it was several weeks ago now, 2024-64, I think it was, came forward, and we're looking to have the council approve the lease that was drafted. I heard some questions, and so there was a request to have Station Theatre representatives come and provide a delegation. I think they did an excellent job, and there was an opportunity for folks to ask questions around the horseshoe. Hopefully that satisfied the questions that did come, or that were lingering. I would like to present and request approval for the lease that has been presented now for a second time.
Great. Seeing 2 thumbs up. Any questions, comments? Councillor Quinn?
Yes, I'm sorry I missed that particular meeting when this was discussed, and I do have concerns with that contract. I feel that it's too long. I could be happier if they did a 2-year contract and then we started to work on a business program. One of the things, has there ever been a rental appraisal done on that property?
How do you mean? As in, sorry, if I just want to make sure I understand the question correctly. In terms of like the value per square footage, or?
Yes, for rental purposes.
Not as far as I am aware.
Because I think that's something that we should be looking at. But I do have concerns with the length of the contract. I have absolutely no concerns with the people that are there using the facility now. And I think what we should be doing is working with them to come up with some sort of a good business plan that they could continue to use the property, but then maybe we'd be able to get it used more, but they could still have their input in there. I don't want them gone. I don't want them thinking. And I think that's what happened before. I think they were thinking we no longer wanted them there. And I don't want them to think that, because I do believe they've done a wonderful job. I think we need them there, but I think we could come up with a better business plan. And so I would be much happier if this was a 2-year contract and then we work on a business plan. Just my concerns, and thank you very much for letting me have that time.
Thanks, Councillor Quinn. Councillor Miller?
So I support the recommendation. Thank you. And I'd like to say thank you to the Station Theatre that came last week, the week before. I think they answered the questions and concerns that I may have had about the use of the space and all the rentals. And so I was really happy to see all of that, because as an outsider, you don't get to see that, right? So it was appreciated, and I'd just like to pass on my thanks. So I do support the recommendation.
I'll support it as well.
I've got some comments on it. It was really great to watch the delegation last week. I appreciate everybody coming. The crowd was record. From even on YouTube, I could tell it was a full room. I think my issue when this kind of stuff comes up, when I think of the last year, we've heard from the Seniors Activity Building Group. We've heard from the Railway Museum of Eastern Ontario comes every year for a community grant. We're spending major money at the library with not the same financial accountability that would happen on a town project. And just off the top of my head, those are, and now with the theater, there's four different but similar organizations where the town is fully behind it and wants to support it. But we have a really hard time quantifying how we're supporting it. And there's really a lack of standards and precedents of how we support the different groups. So when we get something like this lease, I really have a hard time knowing, like, I still haven't had a chance to see any financials from the theater, like what's fair, what's not fair. Over the 25-year evolution, it's gone from the capital campaign was primarily done by the volunteers. Now the town's taken that on, and same as the library, anytime there's an opportunity to have a fundraising campaign, I'd like to see that option explored first. So going forward, I'm not against signing the lease tonight. I think, you know, the good work that the theater group's done for the community is undeniable, but I'd like to see something maybe like an MOU with them that as future capital costs come up, we'll look into partnering with them and using the town's charitable status to help fundraise for capital projects. So we're not just putting this onto our annual budget, because unlike sewer and roads, this is something I think we can fundraise for. The other side of it, I'm not sure, I can't off the top of my head remember the last time we've signed a 10-year lease like this. So that part makes me a little nervous, just because if it, I don't want this to go on the back burner and then in another 10 years we're having the exact same conversation. So I might be more comfortable with a 5-year number, but I'm not sure what the precedents are for 5-year, 10-year, where that number came from.
So if I can, just a couple of things. The first, to clarify, I think and I have to confirm, but I do believe we don't have charitable status as a town, but we do, I think, are a qualified donee under the CRA. So we could potentially issue charitable tax receipts. We do not have a policy. I don't know. I looked to Paul Dauber, who's sitting over there. So maybe that's a conversation that he and I can have afterwards. In terms of the 5-year versus the 10-year, I did float a 5-year. The response was unequivocal from the Station Theatre Group. Specifically, they'd like to have some stability in terms of planning, long-range projections, and sort of a commitment from the town. Looking across the country and other places, that's actually not, it is the industry standard to have that length of a lease, so that we can, again, provide that commitment. One thing that we do have in this lease is an out. If it's not working for either or both groups, there is an opportunity for us to negotiate a way out of it. So, I mean, that's helpful if we need to. Ideally, we don't, but that's helpful for us.
So watching the Horseshoe from the beginning, there was a couple questions on the length, but I think I saw 5 thumbs up for 10 years. So that one looks decided.
I'll just make
Yeah, Councillor Brennan.
Yeah. It is a legal document, and the original lease. Now we did talk to the lawyer, right? And the original lease could be reverted to, should we, at their discretion, right? So it's got to be a 10-year lease legally. Now, can you correct me if I'm wrong?
That would be accurate. There is in this, the existing lease, there is a clause that allows them at their discretion. The language is that at the tenant's discretion, they can revert to the same 10-year lease with the same clauses and all that information. I feel that we've beefed up this lease for both the town's protection and the benefit to the theater as well. So I think this document is a better option for both of us moving forward.
And what's the exit clause on this lease?
Well, let me refer to the lease that you also have a copy of. I did remember this at one point. It was a standard termination that I believe is 90 days, and it was drafted with the support of our legal counsel. So.
Okay. So kind of a moot point on that angle, but for the perspective of trying to get an MOU or some kind of agreement with the theater that we could cooperate and collaborate on fundraising for future capital needs. Is that something that council committee has? Councillor McKenna?
Well, I'm interested in your big picture look at these kind of agreements. And I've asked staff, I don't know what policy direction council has ever provided on it. There might be something there. Just ask for a report back to say, just give us of all those agreements we have, what real, there's a number of them. What is the, I know it fits into our mission and our vision and our values to support groups like this. So that one's a no-brainer. Just, I don't know what policy framework, if any, exists to do that. If you're saying they've been one-offs, as they come up, we've dealt with it one-off. So I'd be interested, no rush for it in the fall or something. If there's a discussion we can have around, because there may be new ones coming up. I don't know, but not this one. I'm ready to go with this one for the 10-year. Yeah.
Mayor Panko?
Yeah, regarding possibly an MOU, I think we'll have some understanding this summer regarding our new asset management plan, including Station Theatre as an asset. We have an idea of what type of capital costs we're going to be facing in the future. And so I think, I don't know how that will, this speaks to our individual responsibilities, the lease agreement does. But MOU, I guess, would be interested to see what a little more detail on what it entails. I mean, we had a great presentation from them last week, which really articulated well some of the journey to this point, a lot of the work that they're doing. And so I think if there's an interest in an operating agreement outside of the lease, is really what you're referring to, I guess, right?
Yeah, just something that sets, because with the library, we come with this big ask and the fundraising was second. If we could set an expectation that we want to collaborate and we want to work together and we want to take advantage of the fact that in the past people have donated money to the theater in the future for capital projects they may want to too. Because I think when I look at, when we look at our financial situation, I think we need to be taking advantage of every opportunity we've got. And whether it's any organization that we could be using, giving tax receipts for donations to help them fundraise, I think the town should be.
Yeah, so the Station Theatre Group has a great history of being successful with its internal fundraising to outfit the entire, renovate and outfit the entire interior of the building and doing upgrades over time. So it makes a conversation that, so we had some of those details last week. So it makes it a matter of a conversation between Director Clark and the group and understand, because maybe they don't need her help when it comes to issuance of charitable receipts and stuff. Maybe that they already have it all on their way. I'm not sure, but I think collaboration going forward is going to be very important because we've got a great asset. We have a vested interest in its success and survival, as does the Station Theatre Group. But we also don't know what type of capital costs we'll be facing there going forward. Is it going to be $50,000 a year, or are we going to be facing a year we're doing $500,000? So once we have the asset management plan, I think that'll give us a better understanding of the challenges that are going to be coming in the future. And that may speak to what type of fundraising may be needed to help supplement what we're doing, or support what we're doing.
That's good. Any further questions, comments? Okay, so I'm seeing support for the recommendation. And does that come tonight, or does that come to our next? It comes tonight. So we'll see that in a few minutes. Seeing no further questions, comments. Thank you, Director Clark. We've got 10.2, appointment of Deputy Treasurer and update of banking resolution with Director Dauber.
Thank you through the chair. I don't have official report for the appointment. This is something that's fairly new for Smith Falls because this is a new position, being a deputy treasurer. Within the Municipal Act, provisions for the deputy treasurer to step in and fulfill all the roles of the treasurer in the absence of the treasurer being there. So therefore, it's a recommendation to do the official appointment in order to provide that that leeway to our new deputy treasurer, Christian Illman. And also to update some of the banking information to be able to allow him to oversee the accounting functions in the absence of the treasurer, but also there'll be some of the accounting functions within the bank that the deputy treasurer will do on a regular basis. So that's what this bylaw is for. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thumbs up. All right, thank
Oh,
you.
and so Christian Illman couldn't make it tonight, and he's a local boy. We poached him from KPMG, our auditors, and so he's coming with a great degree of audit experience, and he's a resident of just the other side of Perth, I believe.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any committee, board, or external organization updates? Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The mayor and I attended our county council last week. One highlight was in community services, the 2023 housing report, which goes into great detail about some of the good work that's going on and many of the programs and services that our Smiths Falls residents can benefit from. Excuse me. I was going to see if council was interested in having their acting housing manager come and present that annual report. It's very interesting. It's full of good data, and it'd be another way to amplify the great services that our community would benefit from. So that's really what I'm interested in, if there's an interest in inviting them.
Seeing nodding heads.
And there may be the garage that houses one of the paramedics' vehicles in Elmont had a fire. The insurance is going to cover most of it, but they're also looking at it as a great opportunity to increase the bays. Some of their trucks are parked outside in the snow, and so it's about a $750,000 ask, and I'm sure if that goes forward, we being the town of Smiths Falls will pay our fair share of that. But it's much needed. There's a lot of good questions. It looks like it's getting support. So
is that something you'll invite, or we should get staff to invite, or?
no, I would turn to staff and let the clerk take care of that.
I'll
But
do that.
it's a great report.
Great.
And if I could, one little human interest story related to housing is as you'll know, the supportive housing project at the former Willowdale is going ahead. I've learned that in the greater Perth Smiths Falls area, there's a group of quilters called the Caring Quilters, and they've teamed up with the Lanark Quilting Guild, and they're providing beautiful quilts for every resident moving into that resident. And some of the people doing the quilting live in the neighborhood of Settlers Ridge. So a really nice response and welcoming to those new residents when they come. Great story. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other reports? Save them for council. Okay, so no correspondence items, no notice of motions, so we'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that the committee adjourn its proceedings at 5:23 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called committee meeting. All those in favor? It's carried.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, for this regular meeting of Smith Falls Town Council for Monday, June 17, 2024. On June 17, 2024, we acknowledge that the sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and has rich and indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We're grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, and be mindful of generations to come. I'll call the meeting to order at 5:28 p.m. Ask for approval of the agenda with Councillor Brennan, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the June 17th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Miller. The June 17th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'll ask for disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none. Approval of minutes from our last meeting with Councillor Robinson, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the minutes of the May 21st, 2024 council meetings be approved as circulated.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Robinson and seconded by Councillor Miller, that the minutes of the May 21st, 2024 council meeting be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Reports. I'm going to start to my left. Councillor Robinson.
Well, thank you. I attended the FCM conference in Calgary from June 5th to the 9th, along with Councillors Brennan and Quinn. One of the sessions was entitled Ask the Experts. So you have a tourism strategy. Now what? This was sponsored by Destination Canada, which is funded by the federal government. When you approach this organization, they work with you to help you achieve your tourism strategy, and it's all at no cost. I met with Maureen Riley, who is the Vice President of Industry Engagement at Destination Canada. She showed me how she could drill down to Smith Falls specific information, such as percentage of people employed by tourism, where they're coming from, money spent, etc., in order for the community to see where they should be focused in order to increase tourism. And she also told me that due to the incorporation of AI into their programming, the depth of information will be much greater in the next 6 to 8 months. It was extremely interesting and informative and could help Smith Falls capitalize on our tourism opportunities. That's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Sure. So a report of kind of the whirlwind of the last few weeks and some of the events, and I know many of you were there as well. I went to the Heritage Conservation District open house to learn more about the study that's underway, and I'd really encourage, if you didn't make it or if the public didn't make it, there is a survey available online on our website and on our Facebook page, and I would really encourage people to learn more about this study and to put their feedback in. It was a really good open house, and hats off to our staff and the consultants for that. Many of us attended the Heritage House event celebrating the Beatles record anniversary, and there is a nice display on all summer, I believe. Councillor Brennan's saying yes. So I'd encourage people to check that out. Again, many of us were at the Citizen of the Year dinner, and I congratulate Chris Senior on his winning that this year. Well deserved. On Saturday, I stopped by Paddlefest and cheered on many of the teams, and hats off to those that paddled. And I finished the day at the GBA's night market, which had just an excellent attendance, I thought. Many of the food vendors sold out by the end of the night, I hear, and that's always a good sign that there was lots of folks out and being engaged in that. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Quinn.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things. I had a Cataraqui Trail meeting on May the 23rd, and at that meeting, and I'm going to get more information, there was a gentleman from Smith Falls that spent 2 days, him and his wife, walking the trail. They started at one end and they walked right through. Now they did have people picking them up during the evening so they could, go somewhere and have a bed to sleep in and whatnot, but he was so impressed with the Cataraqui Trail. So I'm going to bring forward more information about that, because I think the Cataraqui Trail is kind of lost. I think there's a lot of people don't realize that it's there and how really good it is, how great it is to be able to use it. So I want to bring forth more information about that. And I did have a very interesting interview with CBC Radio, and I know you've heard me speak about feral cats. And CBC reached out to me and interviewed me, and it's been wonderful, the response. I have had some people from the SPCA that have reached out and are willing to come and offer us some advice. They can't solve our problem, but they can come and offer us some advice that has been in play in other municipalities. So that would be really good. And my last is, yes, I was also at FCM. It was a very interesting convention. And while we were there, Calgary had a major water break, and they wouldn't even let me go and look at it like I can here in Smith Falls. I tried. I got down there. It was just amazing to see the area that it took in. And I did message one of our staff here in Smith Falls, Jamie Wilkinson, because he's the guy that goes around and finds the leaks that we have here. And he just laughed at me. And I said, get on the plane. They need your help. Anyways, you know what? Sometimes we think we have big problems. That's a major problem. A major problem. That particular service line services at least 60% of the city. And in 2 weeks, it's going to be the Calgary Stampede with a whole lot more people coming in. And I just think, wow. So we're very fortunate here in Smith Falls to have the services that we have. And I will have other reports about FCM at a later date. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Brown, do you have a report or just an announcement?
An announcement later.
Okay.
The report now
Okay.
on FCM, and that's a good segue because I think this was the third one I've been at over my time, and it was the best one. It was the most attended FCM ever. It was 3,100 delegates there. And anyway, the theme was redefining our future, and on the day that it opened, they released a position paper, a municipal growth framework. And so I'm going to send it to everybody. It's definitely worth the read. They make the point that the framework that we get funding from, or the basis we get funding, is from the 19th century. It's not up to date. It's totally behind. They point out the municipalities manage and maintain 60% of Canada's public infrastructure, and yet only receive between 8 and 10 cents on each dollar collected. So we need new agreements. We need new way to make money. We need support from the federal government, that sort of thing. So that was the theme, and it was in all the workshops. It always came up time and time again. So I would encourage, I'm going to send it to everyone. I'll send it to staff as well, because I think AMO's in line with what they were talking about. And when we talk about a water tower, or had the water break, when we talk about the water tower that we're financing now, that's the challenge that we face. And our revenues, our municipal revenues overall, are flatlined or going down. Federal and provincial revenues are going up. So, and yet we're doing 60% of the infrastructure work on our own. So we're not alone. I talked to people at the conference from coast to coast, and it was all the same. And everyone sympathizes, and that was the theme of the conference. 3,100 delegates, all municipal leaders from all over Canada, and they were all singing the same tune. So yeah, I'll send it to you, and I would encourage everybody to attend an FCM, because you can meet people from everywhere, and you can talk about what your challenges are. Homelessness everyone was talking about it, everyone, and yet, you know, we have infrastructure we have to take care of, and then we're talking about homelessness, you know, addictions and stuff like that, which in reality is sort of out of our purview. But, you know, as municipal leaders, we have to do something about it, right? And so we need help. And but anyway, it was a great conference, really good. And my son lives there, and I went over for dinner one night, and I'm like, "Do you not do the dishes?" And they said, "We're trying to conserve water."
Good excuse.
Yeah, so good for you. Yeah, great conference.
Thank you. And where's next year's? They announced?
Ottawa.
Well, that
Yeah.
makes it pretty easy, I guess, right?
Pretty easy, yeah.
Okay. I think that's Councilor Byard.
Municipal Heritage Committee had the chance to meet last Tuesday. What was on the agenda? A lot of stuff from the Municipal Heritage Committee's been through reports, so that's where I haven't been. You've been getting it through the reports. But this week we talked about the old hydro building. There's a focus on trying to learn from the water treatment plant. Obviously, the empty buildings in town are at higher risk of catastrophic things that could happen that would cause demolition. So there was good discussion on that, of the heritage value it brings to the town, and the committee's really keen to try to help advocate to convince Hydro One to do something with it that isn't demolition, so we save that property in our downtown. We also discussed the Railway Museum roof repairs. A lot of time and effort's been going into that project over at the RMEO, and I know with tight funds that a shingle roof is what they're looking at. And there was discussion at the Heritage Committee that when you look at a building of that stature, similar to the post office downtown, that would a steel roof be more appropriate? And how can the Heritage Committee work with the RMEO to try to help fundraise or apply for grants so that the best suitable product's applied? So we're looking forward to trying to maybe collaborate or work with the RMEO on that one. We've got the 2024 Heritage Symposium coming up. Planning's begun. It's going to be in the fall at the Station Theatre. Algonquin College has got some students working on heritage research in town, and kind of in a unique area over Maple Avenue and some of those houses that have some really cool architectural features, but they don't always get the attention that outside of Porch Fest. Porch Fest is a cool event that brings attention to that stuff. So yeah, and then the other one was the motion that is on the agenda for later tonight.
Thank you. Got a few reports of my own, because we're going back a little bit. I think it was May 23rd was our volunteer appreciation event held at Station Theatre. Many members of the council were there, and just our opportunity to thank volunteers in our community and to acknowledge the work of many who've done incredible jobs over a long period of time. Highlighted, I guess, by Bud Fawcett winning the Charles Gilhooly Award. So it was a great evening. Right after that night, I headed to Ottawa. I attended from then until the 26th, that Sunday. I attended the big forum in Ottawa, and that's Basic Income Guarantee Forum. It's a unique, first of its kind national conference on basic income. And probably the biggest takeaway from it was those who had been participants in the Ontario pilot for about a year and spoke about how life-changing of an opportunity it was. And I know there's sometimes some misconceptions or fears that when people are given the opportunity through basic income or other means, that they will not utilize it well or may not motivate them to do more. And every one of the people who participate and the research they've done as a result as well, even though the province had, I guess, sort of taken away and kiboshed all the research, some groups went ahead and tried to do what they could to reach out to those who were involved through social media and then start to collect some data. But the real takeaway was many improved their job situation. One woman was able to buy a new vehicle so that she could get to another job. On the way home from getting her new vehicle, she heard on the radio the pilot had been canceled, so it was a little bit distressing for her. One individual who really struggled with his mental health for years. He had to leave university in order to deal with mental health. When the income pilot hit, he went back to school to become a lighting technician for movies. And then he finished in 2020 at the same time as the pandemic hit. And unfortunately, there was no more movies to be part of. So he had been elevated to a better place mentally and physically, and then things went sideways. Others all talked about how the biggest difference it made for all of them was just their overall outlook on life and their mental health improved immediately. Many went back to school to try and find a way to improve their lives. But I'll share the research when I get the slides and stuff, because it really helps speak to the merits. And it was a lot of academics, a lot of people with lived experience, and people with great understanding. So it was very beneficial 4 days. June 1st, I participated in the Pride flag raising in front of Town Hall with some other members of council, and a couple of hiccups trying to get the flag up the old flagpole, but we know that for next year the new flagpole will be in place. That should be in place, I believe, next month. But kicking off Pride Month. And Evergreen Avenue was June 2nd. Councillor Brennan, of course, was there, and he's part of that committee. And as well as handing out environmental awards. I think, was that the first time for that? Or First time in a
Second
while.
one. Yeah.
And it was great to see. But to see Richard Shanks, who was a Korean War veteran, many of us knew Richard, and never any conversation I had with him, he didn't talk about his experience in Korea, but he certainly was a Korean War veteran. And then Jim Jenkins, both who passed away in the last several months, both who were very key members of, I guess, military presence in town, and Jim very involved in the Legion, former Legion president, both being honored with stones at Evergreen Avenue. So it was a very respectful ceremony, and I know the families were very, very pleased with the recognition. And County Council last week, I think Councillor McKenna covered most of that. On the 12th, I attended an event in Carlton Place held by what's now called the Lanark Community Alliance. That's Cambridge Community Support and Community Living Lanark County. And it was a great opportunity to see the work of those organizations, which are also working together. But some awards handed out to some of the people that are involved with those organizations, but also they had a talent show. The talent show was virtual, but they were members and I guess clients of Community Living, but the exceptional level of talent, whether it's singing, whether it's playing the piano, whether it's art, that they were able to exhibit through this opportunity. So it was a very heartwarming event. On Friday, I attended the Ontario Association Police Service Board's zone meeting in Belleville. We had a great presentation from the Belleville Police, and they've been very proactive with technology. And a little more to say at the Police Service Board, but from body-worn cameras, where the acting chief had indicated when they first were introduced, there wasn't full buy-in. There was some reluctance from some members of the service, maybe been around for a while, but then now they say no officer will leave for their shift without putting on their body-worn camera. It's just they see so much value in it, and it helps protect, of course, the officers as well as the public in those situations. So they're also talking about the advancement of AI, the difference it's making with police services and policing in general. So a little bit more of that to come. And then speaking of AI, I attended a hospital board retreat as a member of the board on Saturday morning. And same thing, some of the advances they see with AI coming in the medical field. And this is all happening very rapidly. But the board really taking the time to reflect on where it's been and project on where it needs to go to help serve our community going forward. So a great opportunity for that. And then announcements, I've got a few. I want to just let the community know, it's been published through social media and by the town. We have a Welcome to Smith Falls newcomer event happening this Saturday from 10 to 2 in the town square. And while everybody is welcome, every member of the community is welcome, it's primarily focused on giving people who are relatively new to our community an opportunity to connect with a variety of the community partners. And there'll be about 15 different community partners there. An opportunity to maybe make some friends and connect with other people in the community who are maybe walking a similar path. We'll have some food, some children's activities, and some entertainment. So it's going to be a great event from 10 to 2 in the town square adjacent to Town Hall. And then just a shout out for Pride in the Park is going to be June 29th from 1 to 5 in Victoria Park. So it's back as a celebration to sort of cap off Pride Month in Smith Falls. Other announcements, there'll be no meetings held on August 12th. That's usually committee whole. And also on August 19th, that's your council meeting. That's during the AMO conference. So I know there'll be some of us who will be at AMO at that time. And we're way ahead of ourselves. You're looking for something, a night off before Christmas. We won't be meeting December 23rd. Good. Looking at your calendars now. Yeah. I've got 2 proclamations. The first one is St. John Ambulance Week. And whereas Queen Victoria in 1882 created the most venerable order of Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, and whereas that said order has been present in Canada in providing first aid training and first aid care through St. John Ambulance since 1877. Whereas St. John Ambulance has been providing first aid care in Leeds, Grenville, and Lanark counties, including the Smith Falls, since 1960. Whereas their contribution, past and present, warrant appreciation and recognition, and their stories deserve to be told. Where it is desirable to recognize the many volunteers of St. John Ambulance. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smith Falls, do hereby proclaim the week of June 17th, starting today, as St. John Ambulance Week in the Town of Smith Falls. And secondly, second proclamation, National Indigenous Peoples Day. where the town of Smith Falls acknowledges the rich culture, heritage, and achievements of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples in Canada. Whereas National Indigenous Peoples Day is a day recognizing and celebrating the cultures and contributions of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis Indigenous peoples of Canada. And whereas for generations, many Indigenous peoples and communities have celebrated their culture and heritage on or near this day due to the significance of the summer solstice as the longest day of the year. Whereas the town of Smith Falls is home to a strong Indigenous community and would like to acknowledge their continued contributions. And now therefore be it resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the town of Smith Falls, do hereby proclaim June 21st, 2024 as National Indigenous Peoples Day in the town of Smith Falls. And to that effect, anybody who's been driving across Abbott Street by Duck Island will notice, if you're heading south to the left, the tip of Duck Island is the new healing circle. It's being installed by Director Clark's team. And I'm not sure if it's quite finished yet, but almost there. But there will be, we're just working with our Indigenous community on a ceremony to officially welcome that into our town, into our community in the very near future. So thanks to Director Clark and her team for pulling this together. This has been a project which has really been 4 years in the making. So it's going to be a very suitable and respectable space. And we're looking forward to having it officially opened in the near future. And that's it for my announcements and proclamations. We do have some regular business to look after. We have a consent agenda, which is with Councillor Quinn, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that items in the consent agenda number 08-2024 be received from the clerk, be received and adopted.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Quinn, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that the items in the consent report number 08-2024 received from the clerk, be received and adopted. Clerk Costello.
Thank you, Your Worship. This evening on the consent agenda, we have one bylaw, and that's to award the Youth Arena feasibility study. We have 3 resolutions, the first being the Water Tower Contract Administration and Inspection Services change order. The second being a correspondence item that was brought forward last week from Toronto Zoo regarding provincial legislations needed to restrict keeping of non-native wild animals. And the fourth and final resolution was a delegation back in mid-May regarding Family and Children's Services of Lanark, Leeds, and Grenville. So all 3 of those resolutions and one bylaw are on the consent agenda for Council's discussion this evening.
Thank you. Would anyone like to pull any individual item for further discussion? At that, I'll call the motion. All in favor? Thank you. Moving forward, our banking authorizations with Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenna that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the necessary documentation appointing Sean Panko and Malcolm Morris as signing officers for all banking procedures, with Stephen Robinson or Don Quinn and Kerry Costello, Nadine Bennett, Paul Dauber, or Christian Illman as their alternates respectively. And further that Malcolm Morris, Ellen Leach, Nadine Bennett, Tanya Rose, Brandy Phillips, Brianne Harper, Vicki Thompson, Dana Sullivan, Sandra Waters, Sierra Swindles, Scott Sabarin, and Kerry Costello be authorized to pick up from and deliver to the Royal Bank various banking documents on behalf of the corporation. And further that resolution 2024-03-047 be hereby rescinded.
Thank you. Further discussion, please.
So we're updating our banking policies to include our new Deputy Treasurer, Christian Illman, and I know we're all glad to have Christian on board and look forward to meeting him.
Any further discussion? It's moved by Councillor Miller and seconded by Councillor McKenna. The mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the necessary documentation, appointing Sean Panko and Malcolm Morris as signing officers for all banking procedures, with Stephen Robinson or Don Quinn and Kerry Costello, Nadine Bennett, Paul Dauber, or Christian Illman as their alternates, respectively. And further, that Malcolm Morris, Ellen Leach, Nadine Bennett, Tanya Rose, Brandy Phillips, Brianne Harper, Vicki Thompson, Dana Sullivan, Sandra Waters, Sierra Swindell, Scott Sebra, and Kerry Costello be authorized to pick up from and deliver to the Royal Bank various banking documents on behalf of the corporation. And further, that resolution 2024-03-047 be hereby rescinded. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor McGuire, you're up next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenna, whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls by bylaw 4350-77 and amended by bylaw 10390-2022 designated the property located at 25 Old Mill Road, municipally known as the former Waterworks building complex, as having cultural heritage or interest under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. And whereas Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls directed staff to advance a claim with intact public entities for the complete demolition and proper disposal of the existing above-grade structures and all contents at 25 Old Mill Road, and to make arrangements to salvage and retain ownership of masonry elements of the 1868 stone and 1886 brick structures on March 25th, 2024 via Resolution 2024-03-059. And whereas, as per Section 34, 4.2 under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, Council is required to consult with the Municipal Heritage Committee prior to making a decision as to whether to authorize the demolition. And whereas in advance of negotiating the terms of a demolition contract, the Municipal Heritage Committee provided input to Town Council to assist in their decision, and Council considered this input. Therefore, be it resolved that having fulfilled the requirements pursuant to Section 34 of the Ontario Heritage Act, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls consents to the application to demolish the 4 buildings on the subject property under the following conditions. 1, that the following attributes as identified by the Municipal Heritage Committee be prioritized for salvage. Building 1, the corner coins, facade stone, stone sills, decorative stone lintels, date stone above the west entrance extrusion with masonry columns and piers. Building 2, decorative brick cornice on west facade, arched openings 3 per story on west facade and 2 per story on east side with stone sills, brick keystones and voussoirs. Remaining windows and doors. Building 3, signage, the date stone, and building 4, the date stone in that structure. Number 2, that as much material as practical be salvaged and stored in a safe and secure manner, in particular the stone, red brick, and other masonry elements. 3, that prior to demolition, all cultural heritage resources to be removed or documented through an appropriate assessment for archival purposes with history, photographic record, and measured drawings, including the use of photogrammetry in accordance with industry standards. 4, that Council establish the appropriate planning tools at the time of the sale of the land or its future development to establish an expectation that the new development is appropriately sympathetic to the heritage context of this area and appropriately reuses the material in a manner that is consistent with best heritage practices. And 5, that the Municipal Heritage Committee be consulted and provided the opportunity to provide feedback on the design of any new building before it's finalized.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Yes. So, I just, if somebody's tuning in for the first time tonight, I just want to reiterate that the reason we're at where we're at is because our insurer, Intact Public Entities, has not given us a choice to salvage the structures. We have a stamped engineering report that says they can be salvaged. We have estimates that show that the salvage was going to be less expensive than the demolition. But we have an uncooperative insurance company that is not giving us any room to negotiate or budge and has put us in this corner. And I think I just want to put that in the context that the Heritage Committee still prefers that the building be maintained, but accepts the liability position it would put the town in, so reluctantly comes up with these conditions. I know last week there was some discussion on masonry elements. I can reiterate those in the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but there's definitely parts in here that we want to try to repurpose as much of the decorative stone and reuse as much of the stone that can be reused as possible. Or sorry, the brick, red brick with the masonry elements. Yeah, I think it's just, to say it again too, it's really unfortunate that we're losing this heritage asset in the new millennium. I think this is the biggest loss of, or will be the biggest loss of social, economic, cultural, like all of the things that go into the Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. We're losing them when we lose this structure. And when it goes back to the time when the Heritage Committee would come to council and say, this building's not secured, we need to put more into it. And I think the number that is on the record was it was $26,000 to secure the building. I really want us to remember that, because that $26,000 it's cost way more to deal with this. It's way more headache, and it's way more liability on the town. And we've lost our cultural heritage asset. So unfortunately, it's another step forward. And I appreciate council and the municipal heritage committees and everybody's openness to trying to salvage what we can, but I still want to make it clear that this is a big loss.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, thank you. It's moved by Councillor McGuire and seconded by Councillor McKenna. This Council of the Corporation of Town of Smith Falls has, by bylaw 4350-77 and amended bylaw 10390-2022, designated property located at 25 Old Mill Road and this will be known as a former Waterworks building complex as having cultural heritage or interest under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Whereas Council of the Corporation of Town of Smith Falls directed staff to advance a claim with intact public entities for the complete demolition and proper disposal of the existing above-grade structures and all contents at 25 Old Mill Road, and to make arrangements to salvage and retain ownership of masonry elements of the 1868 stone and 1886 brick structures on March 25th, 2024, via Resolution 2024-03-059. Whereas per Section 34, 4.2 under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, Council is required to consult with the Municipal Heritage Committee prior to making a decision as to whether to authorize a demolition. And whereas in advance of negotiating the terms of a demolition contract, Municipal Heritage Committee provided input to Town Council to assist in their decision, and Council considered this input. Therefore, be resolved that having fulfilled the requirements pursuant to Section 34 of the Ontario Heritage Act, the Council of the Corporation of Town of Smith Falls consents to the application to demolish the 4 buildings on the subject property under the following conditions. 1, that the following attributes as identified by the Municipal Heritage Committee be prioritized for salvage: corner quoins, facade stone, stone sills, decorative stone lintels, date stone above west entrance extrusion, and masonry columns and piers. Building 2, decorative brick cornice on the west facade, arched openings, 3 per story on west facade and 2 per story on east side with stone sills, brick keystones and ouvertures. Remaining windows and doors. Building 3, signage, a commemorative plaque. Building 4, commemorative plaque and date inscription. And 2, that as much material as practical be salvaged and stored in a safe and secure manner, in particular the stone, red brick, and other masonry elements. 3, that prior to demolition, all cultural heritage resources to be removed are documented through the appropriate assessment for archival purposes with a history, photographic record, and measured drawings, including the use of photogrammetry in accordance with industry standards. And 4, the council established the appropriate planning tools at the time of the sale of the land or its future development to establish an expectation that new development is appropriately sympathetic to the heritage context of this area and appropriately reuses materials in a manner that is consistent with heritage best practices. And 5, that the Municipal Heritage Committee be consulted and provided the opportunity to provide feedback on the design of any new building before it is finalized. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Councillor Quinn, you have our first bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to appoint Kristen Ellman as the Deputy Treasurer for the Town of Smith Falls be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to appoint Kristen Ellman as the Deputy Treasurer for the Town of Smith Falls be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Quinn?
We're very pleased to announce this addition to our staff as he comes on as our Deputy Treasurer. There's many things that he can help our Treasurer with. He can also fill in when our Treasurer, Mr. Dauber, is not available. So this is a nice fit.
Thank you. Any further discussion? We have a third reading, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to appoint Kristen Ellman as the Deputy Treasurer for the Town of Smith Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10551-2024.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Robinson. The bylaw to appoint Kristen Ellman as the Deputy Treasurer for the Town of Smith Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10551-2024. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Councillor McKenna, you're up next.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm very pleased to bring forward the following motion. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a lease agreement between the Town of Smith Falls and the Smith Falls Community Theatre Foundation be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor McKenna and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to authorize execution of a lease agreement between the town of Smith Falls and Smith Falls Community Theatre Foundation be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried.
I ask for a recorded vote.
I'll come back to that in a moment. Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor McKenna, further discussion?
Yeah, this is a second 10-year lease. We've had a 10-year lease with the foundation that's gone very well. This is a renewal which kicks into place June 2024 and will run for the next 10 years. And as we know, the town's responsible for purchasing and maintaining comprehensive building insurance. The town's responsible for repair and maintenance and building systems and structure, i.e. the outside and HVAC and roof. The tenant is responsible for all utility costs, and the annual rent is set at $10,000 per annum, which will be adjusted every 2 years based on inflation. So those are some of the highlights. I would say that the Station Theatre Group came in last week with just a terrific overview of the history, the operations, and the events running at the theatre, and we're just delighted. I'm just delighted to have this opportunity to sign on for another 10 years.
Thank you. Further discussion, Councillor Quinn.
I would ask for a recorded vote, please.
Thank you. Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, just to make the point that we made earlier in the meeting that this is a legal document, and if it's at their discretion, and we could go back to the former one or this one, which is a little more advantageous to us, but we really don't have any discretion on what the lease is at this point. So I'll support it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May we have a third reading, please?
Yes, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Robinson, the bylaw to authorize execution of a lease agreement between the town of Smith Falls and the Smith Falls Community Theatre Foundation. Be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10552-2024.
Thank you. It is moved by Councillor McKenna and seconded by Councillor Robinson. The bylaw to authorize execution of a lease agreement between the town of Smith Falls and the Smith Falls Community Theatre Foundation. Be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10552-2024. All in favor? Oh, sorry, recorded vote to Clerk Costello.
Thank you, Your Worship. Regarding a lease agreement between the town of Smith Falls and the Smith Falls Community Theatre Foundation, bylaw 10552-2024, if council members could please either reply with a yay or a nay. Councillor Brennan?
Yay.
Councillor Quinn?
Nay.
Councillor Miller?
Yay.
Councillor McKenna?
Yay.
Councillor Robinson?
Yay.
Councillor McGuire?
Yay.
Mayor Panko?
Yay.
Carried.
Thank you. Inquiries or announcements? Yeah, Councillor Brennan.
That went quick. Yeah, just to remind everyone, I announced this some time ago, but this Sunday, June 23rd at 1:30, your Hall of Fame inductees for the Smith Falls Recreation Hall of Fame will be announced upstairs at the arena. And this is the first time since 2019. Very excited to have the following: Stu Smith, who was a former Montreal Canadian and a coach of the Ritos. His son, Brian Smith, the former AHL All-Star and member of the Detroit Red Wings. Tim Norris, everybody knows him as their favorite powerlifter. And the 1973 Redmond football team, who were Lanark County champions. And last time I failed to mention that one of my colleagues was on that team. So Councillor Robinson was on that team. I was much too young to be in high school at that time. There's also a wall of fame, which is on one side of the walking track, which is people that passed through Smith Falls, not necessarily did their thing here. So it's Kevin Grimes and Quentin Burns. And also the committee is recognizing again this year, two recreational places that from the past. So it's going to be the CPR Recreation Grounds. So that's the old ball field with the stands, and they have a great picture of that. And also the Rotary Pool, which is, there's still a stone marking that, a combined lock. So those two things will be happening. There'll be refreshments and great camaraderie. We're expecting a big crowd, so everybody be there. Okay.
Great, thank you. Any further? Yes.
Thank you. I just want to thank Councillor Brennan for reinvigorating that group and the group of volunteers on that committee. It had to take a bit of a hiatus, but it was great. You wouldn't let it go, and it's a good event. I'm glad to see it back. Thank you.
I just want to thank Director Clark for her patience with us as we got going again, but they're really happy to be there, and thanks for your help, Director. It's been good so far, and look forward to Sunday.
Very good, thank you. Our confirmatory bylaw is with Councillor McGuire, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 21st day of May 2024 be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor McGuire and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 21st day of May 2024 be received or read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor McGuire?
Still haven't been able to figure out why we can't do this by consent, but the province thinks it's important we do it this way, so we will continue.
Priscilla's nodding head. I'll say that's correct. Third reading, please.
So moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Robinson that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 21st day of May 2024 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10553-2024.
Thank you. It's moved by Councillor McGuire, seconded by Councillor Robinson, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on the 21st day of May 2024 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10553-2024. All in favor? Thank you. And our final piece of business is with Councillor Robinson.
It would be a pleasure. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenna that this council adjourn its proceedings at 6:09 p.m. and stand so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor McKenna. This council adjourns proceedings at 6:09 p.m. and stands so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council. All in favor? That's it. We're adjourned. Good night, everyone.